Tammy Slaton was once a name that only circulated in corners of YouTube or within niche discussions about extreme weight loss stories. But in the span of just a few years, her life would be transformed in ways both unimaginable and deeply personal. Tammy, alongside her sister Amy, first rose to public attention with the TLC reality series 1,000-Pound Sisters, a show that began as a documentation of two Kentucky sisters struggling with morbid obesity. But it quickly turned into something much more, a raw, unfiltered look into trauma, addiction, sisterhood, resilience, and the price of reality television fame. For Tammy, the journey was never just about the scale. It was about pain, physical, emotional, and spiritual. She carried decades of shame, societal judgment, self-neglect, and generational trauma in every step she took. But when the cameras started rolling, those private burdens became public property. What few anticipated was just how deeply fame would penetrate Tammy's life. Not just her image on television, but her soul, her identity, and the relationships she held dearest. When 1,000-Pound Sisters premiered in 2020, Tammy Slaton was bedridden for much of her day, weighing well over 600 pounds. Viewers were introduced to a woman with a sharp tongue, often clashing with those around her, particularly her sister Amy, who was the more mobile and independent of the two. In those early seasons, Tammy struggled with mobility, self-care, and a seemingly unbreakable addiction to food. She lashed out at those who tried to help her, but behind the anger was something far more vulnerable, a deep-seated fear of abandonment and unworthiness. Fame, in the beginning, only magnified those insecurities. Suddenly, Tammy was not just fighting to live, she was fighting for privacy, for dignity, and for a sense of self in the face of millions of opinions. Fans speculated endlessly about her habits, her choices, her tone of voice, and her willpower. Trolls flooded her social media with cruel jokes and memes. Though some viewers were supportive and empathetic, the spotlight came with a price. Tammy was not prepared for the level of scrutiny that would descend upon her every move. The pressure was intense, and for a time it seemed to push her further into isolation. Fame had a unique effect on Tammy. It exposed her vulnerabilities but also gave her a platform she never expected. The financial stability provided by the show allowed Tammy to make improvements to her home, afford medical care, and access resources that might have otherwise been unavailable. But it also exposed the cracks in her personal relationships. As Tammy began to recognize her own potential and importance in the public eye, she grew increasingly combative with those around her, especially when she felt misunderstood or doubted. Her arguments with Amy became a central plot point of the show. What the world watched was more than sibling rivalry. It was the unraveling of a delicate support system under the weight of fame, responsibility, and trauma. As the seasons progressed, Tammy's health only worsened. Viewers saw her hospitalizations, her near-death experiences, and her deep struggles with food addiction and depression. Fame amplified those struggles. With thousands of strangers constantly offering unsolicited advice and judgment, Tammy found it increasingly difficult to differentiate between genuine care and exploitative interest. The lines between performance and authenticity blurred. Was she being herself, or was she performing a version of Tammy that the audience had come to expect? Then, in a dramatic turn, Tammy's story took a hopeful pivot. After years of resistance and failed attempts, she entered a rehab facility where she began the hardest chapter of her journey, one of actual transformation. While many assumed she would never make it out of her cycle of self-destruction, Tammy stunned the world by not only losing weight but regaining her mobility and sense of self-worth. She underwent bariatric surgery and shed more than 400 pounds. She began walking without assistance. The same woman who once seemed trapped inside her body emerged as someone transformed, both physically and emotionally. But even in triumph, fame cast a long shadow. Tammy's transformation was lauded across headlines, with tabloids and media outlets labeling it one of the greatest turnarounds in reality TV history. Suddenly, the same outlets that once mocked her were now praising her. The tone shifted, but the intensity of attention remained the same. Tammy couldn't escape the gaze. Every outfit, every TikTok video, every candid moment was scrutinized. Her newfound confidence brought with it another challenge, the pressure to maintain it. Romance, too, became a complicated chapter in her fame story. Tammy's relationships, often riddled with drama and dysfunction, became public spectacles. Her marriage to Caleb Willingham was short-lived and tragic, as he passed away in 2023. That loss hit her hard, and she grieved publicly while trying to maintain her own mental and physical recovery. Fame did not afford her the luxury of private mourning. Instead, she had to navigate heartbreak under the public microscope, her sorrow becoming fodder for clickbait articles and YouTube commentary. Throughout all of this, Tammy Slaton remained remarkably resilient. Fame had taken her lowest moments and broadcast them to millions, but it had also provided her with opportunities she never imagined. She was able to inspire countless people struggling with obesity, self-esteem, or addiction. Messages poured in from fans saying she gave them hope. In those moments, the weight of fame felt a little lighter. Tammy began to understand that her story was bigger than her. It was a mirror for others, a blueprint for survival against odds that once seemed insurmountable. Still,